Hi everyone, I'm Amy Olson. I'm an agricultural communications senior here at UW pursuing minors in the agricultural economics and obviously the honors program. And I'm proud to say that I call Ballads, Wyoming home, and that's where I grew my roots in agriculture. Making a chapbook of poetry is a process beyond what I had ever imagined, and I haven't even submitted it for publication yet. I had no idea the amount of time and revision that goes into individual poems, thinking about everything from rhyme schemes to punctuation, line length, and even just specific words. I spent so much time reading poems from magazines and attending Dead Poets Society, along with reading many other poetic books for my research of this project. The idea for this small collection was deeply rooted in my love for an agricultural way of life. I've been trying for many years to find a way to express my love. I'm not much for painting or drawing. However, I have had some luck in journalistic writing, being published right before my freshman year in Wyoming Wildlife and writing for our local newspaper. This led me to Kate Northrup's Writing Animals class, the first time it was offered for honor students. After dabbling a little bit in writing short stories, I found a little bit more of my niche in poetry. Then I continued my creative writing education in Kate Northrup's multi-genre creative writing course. It was during this course that we were discussing the cow book one day. We had read it in Writing for Animals, and I personally was not impressed by the book. Somewhat due to its lack of scientific knowledge, but also just in general knowledge of the cows or the people caring for them. It made me think, what if there was something deeper than the cows? So, Bovine book was born. At the time in that class, it was only a few poems and every single page had a picture on it. The poems were either laid over the pictures or beside of them. Now, one of the biggest decisions when organizing the collection was the lineation of the poems. I had thought many times about following the seasons, just as ranchers and farmers do. However, I wanted something more meaningful. After a lot of good suggestions from Kate, and printing off every single poem and picture and laying them all out on my living room floor, I removed a few poems and decided that I should follow a pattern that laid out my personal experience first and then led into the bigger picture of agriculture and farming and where our food comes from. I felt this was the most meaningful way to include my personal ties while also making the experience of my collection something that any reader could connect to. The most important goal to me personally with this project was to get the word out. Although the entire collection has not been published yet, I have submitted a few poems for publication, and a few titles have been published. Rope and Gloves for Christmas made it into the Snake River Press, while The Fence was published in Frontiers magazine. The Ballads Review, which is also an honors publication, printed The Old Shipping Pens, and the next semester, Skinny Heifers. Although most of these have been revised since their publishing, Rope and Gloves for Christmas has remained exactly the same. So here it is, one of my first poems, Rope and Gloves for Christmas. Rope and gloves for Christmas, that's all he'll ever need. Rope and gloves for Christmas, to use with his good stout steed. Wet-backed horses don't get an off day, but they'll get by with a little extra hay. The frozen trailer creaks more than usual, and icicles in manes and tails are just so beautiful. So rope and gloves for Christmas, that's all he'll ever need. Rope and gloves for Christmas, to use with his good stout steed. Along with my goals of this being published, I had very high hopes of presenting my work this year at a cowboy poetry gathering, which obviously aren't taking place anymore. So, in the spirit of cowboy poetry, I've gotten together a few of my friends and family, while keeping social distancing practices in mind, to help read a few of my poems. Here those are.
Ranch Chapel. You might not see him in a church pew every Sunday, but he knows the Lord better than most. This Sunday, he's wearing blue jeans with a hole in the right knee. He kneels by a sagebrush overlooking his herd to pray for rain. Last Sunday, he donned his best black felt hat and laid his beloved Kelpie to rest while he prayed that her daughter would be just as smart. Next Sunday, he'll start up the bright green John Deere wearing a short-sleeved pearl snap and starting the first cutting of hay to feed the cattle through the next snowy winter. 2 Sundays away, he'll be loading a steer shipping trailer, and as they roll away, he'll pray that the yearlings bring the highest market price. And every night, whether dinner is due during sunset or well after dark, he'll pray that his children learn to love the life that he chose, and that someday they'll be able to pray for the same.
I notice the finer things these winter days. As the temperature drops, my eyes take time to stop. On frosty twigs of chilly mornings, or the clouds that are the next storm's warnings. The peaceful silence of the snow at night makes me wonder what animals are dreaming during their slumber. I watched my horses snort and stomp, the nearby cattle shiver and chomp. It seems to me this winter causes a haze, even though I stop to gaze. Now February, this winter was late, but my eyes tell me it will decide my late fate.
So as a large part of my research for this project, I read many books of poetry, Winter Morning Walks, Kate Northrup gave me, my professor, and I took a lot from that book, learning about how to describe nature in its full beauty. And on top of that, I read Wyoming, which my sister gave me. I learned a lot from this about what I didn't want to do in my own book, as much as you have to learn that. I read Earthbound by Sharon O'Toole. I grew up in the same community that Sharon lives in right now, and hers was more about sheep herding, but I did take a lot from her in the beautiful ways she described our landscape and our lifestyle. And then finally, I read Rhymes of the Ranges, which is Bruce Kiskadon's cowboy poetry. He is considered one of the greatest cowboy poets of all time, and I took a lot of inspiration from him for quite a few of my poems, so now I'm going to read to you one of them. The Cowboy's Shirt Tail. There is one thing people inquire about. They ask why a cowpuncher's shirt tail comes out. Most any rough hand that you happen across, if he's skinning a beef or if he's shoeing a hoss, if he's riding a bronco or flanking a calf, well, his shirt tail's out, or at least half. Now working wild stock, where the brush is right thick, where the cattle is sudden and cowboys is quick. If you notice a man and a hoss disappear, that is, if you view the event from the rear, the thing that you'll always keep on your mind is that cowpuncher's shirt tail a flopping behind. If you've seen some old waddy just busting his neck to escape from some critter he's got on the peck, you've discovered 2 facts just between you and I, that a cowboy can run and a shirt tail can fly. He knowed what he'd get if he happened to fail, so he sure didn't stop to arrange his shirt tail. Them Levi P. Strauss is built small in the seat, and a cowpuncher's frame doesn't carry much meat. He can eat a big breakfast, and long before night, he's so empty and hungry, nothing fits tight. And besides, he gets rassled and tussled around, till the best behaved shirt tail won't hardly stay down. Yes, I know it's a fact, and beyond any doubt, that a cowpuncher's shirt tail will keep coming out. It's the work that they do and the clothes that they wear, and it's partly perhaps that a cowboy don't care. So I've had to explain to folks time and again, their shirt tails comes out because they can't keep them in.
Young cowpuncher's lament. All that awaits after a ride home under God's bright stars through snowdrifts horse-belly high is leftover beefsteak in a bed full of hay and gravel, and memories of a beautiful red-headed gal who would ride the feisty dapple-gray gelding with composure and a diamond smile on her face, who rode away in that white Dodge Dually just the same, towards dreams of a city and a man who doesn't work, from before sun up and well past sundown.
The old man taught me everything, and I have nothing to do but thank him. He taught me to love and teach a young horse and an old one, and to have nothing but patience with even the rankest of them. We branded and roped through sun and rain, cut calves and joked in joy or in always more to learn. If further is where you reach, set out for formal education in town, has left this outdoor gal with more than a frown. Finding a way to pay the bills with happiness will lead me back to be seated on a good horse and remind me once again of the old man, of course.
Roping that red bucket in the alley in my barn, I think about all the times I've lost and I've won, the trophies I've held and the buckle on my hips. I think about the lessons learned and the horses I could have rode better. I build another loop and think about the horse who carries me now, that loves to box and sort cows, who greets me every morning with a nicker and will allow me to learn with him to rope more than that red bucket. These friends or family may or may not have inspired a poem, but above all, they have encouraged my work more than I can ever imagine, and I'm thankful beyond belief. In its current state, Bovine Ballads is 24 pages long, consists of 21 poems, 7 photographs I've taken, and 1 quote from my father. Without my parents raising me in such an agricultural community, I would have never experienced life growing up as I did, nor inherited the love of the way of life like I did. I cannot thank enough people, but it is thanks especially due to Kate Northrup for supervising and even more encouraging this project. And to thank my family, the biggest mentors in this, here is Town Won't Do. I was too young to notice, but Mom and Dad just knew. A town this big wasn't right for us. Rollins just wouldn't do. We got fined for having chickens. The horses couldn't stay close. But Dad would build a loop for us, and every kid would roam. On the watered green front lawn, cool evenings all summer long, every kid from around the block was roping the old mailbox.